welcome to All Steelers Talk, your home for everything Pittsburgh Steelers, presented by allsteelers.com.
What is up, Steelers Nation? Thank you so much for jumping on to another episode of All Steelers Talk. I'm Noah Strackbine, joined every Monday and Wednesday by my main man, Steven Thompson. Find us on youtube.com/All Steelers Talk and subscribe anywhere you get your podcasts. And today, well, we came in getting ready to talk about how the Pittsburgh Steelers have not made a move at inside linebacker moments before we started recording. The Pittsburgh Steelers, at least news broke that they have agreed to terms with Cole Holcomb out of the Washington Commanders, a 4-year starter, suffered a foot injury in December, had season-ending surgery. He will undergo a physical on Thursday. If he clears, he's headed to Pittsburgh on a 3-year deal. Outside of that, Robert Spillane heads to Vegas. Leighton Vander Esch, who the Steelers were apparently in on, heads back to Dallas. Larry Ogunjobi stays in Pittsburgh for the next 3 years. DeMonte Kazee back for 2. There's a new big man in house. He big. Nate, he big. And Patrick Peterson, the splash of it all, coming to the Pittsburgh Steelers. First off, it's a beautiful day. I know you're down in good old Dayton, Ohio.
That's
covering
right.
the NCAA tournament.
Mm-hmm.
I saw your tweet yesterday, 2 days ago or something, that was like, this place is like the moon or whatever. You couldn't find an Uber. That didn't surprise me. I don't know like what you were, but Dayton, to me, Dayton, Ohio, I just pictured just land everywhere and maybe like a couple of buildings. I grew up in Scranton. If you Google Scranton, it's the worst looking city of all time. I would imagine Dayton's like right there behind it.
Dayton was pretty good to me, but yes, it was. So I'm staying a little bit outside of the city, maybe 15 minutes. And yeah, dude, getting into the city is tough without your own car. Like I would open the Uber app or whatever, and it would be $80 to try to go, the 10 miles or whatever into the city.
What did you just say? $80?
Yeah, $80. And then, but then you'd close it and reopen it again, and you'd be back down to 25 or whatever. And it was just weird like that. And then when you actually ordered one, it took like 25 minutes for them to actually get you a driver and the driver to get there. It was a little bit of a pain, but we figured it out. We made it. We're all good.
That's wild.
Covered. Yeah.
If I knew Ubers were $80, we would have got you closer to the city. Didn't realize Dayton, Ohio has one Uber driver that just circles around. So that's all good. But Pitt did win. Crazy fashion. I was telling you, my fiance was passed out next to me. I woke up. I fell asleep. We fell asleep watching a movie because I knew I wasn't watching the beginning of Pitt versus Mississippi State. Just didn't excite me. But I wanted to watch the second half. So I woke back up. It was like 10 o'clock. I turned on the second half. And by the end of that game, for those of you who don't know, 1-point win by the Panthers. I was sitting there I was trying really hard not to jump or yell or be like, oh my gosh. And then the cats were getting excited with me. And I was like, oh, this is crazy. But it was definitely a good game. Do you think they beat Iowa State?
To be honest, I don't really know much about Iowa State. From what I've seen, yeah, Iowa State's beatable. Really don't know how I've watched a little bit of Iowa State this year, not a whole lot, but from what I do know about them, the fact that they're a 6th seed is a little surprising. But Iowa State is generally considered one of the weaker 6 seeds out there. There are a lot of people who were calling for whoever won this game between Pitt and Mississippi State for them to upset Iowa State. That was one of the, most likely upsets in the first round. So yeah, they've definitely got a shot. And even after that, their path is pretty favorable. Playing Xavier, that's another team they can beat. After that, I don't know how it would kind of shake out or who their next opponent might be. But yeah, no, there's a chance for Pitt to stack a few wins in this tournament, not just kind of be one and done.
Wow, that's wild. And we will talk Pittsburgh Steelers here in a second. I know everybody's going to get impatient. But first, I just want to lay a stat on you. I saw this from OptaStats on Twitter this morning. Of all the D1 teams ever, Pitt is the first one in the last in the last 25 years to score 60 points or fewer, shoot 35% or worse from 2-point, 60% or worse from the free throw, and get out rebounded by 20 or more and still win a game. In the last 25 years, teams are 0-348. They are now 1-348. So Pitt, magical run. Keep it going. It's fun to watch. It's cool to be a part of, I would say. So keep dancing, and next time maybe win me some money.
There we go.
Yeah. Like I was feeling gutsy. I went the over. It's just it was a bad move. I know it was the wrong move. I felt it in my gut. It was the wrong move. So next time, please just win me some money. All
Well,
right,
for a
let's
while
talk.
it looked like it would hit in the. I think the
Yeah,
over was 130 or something, 133 or
133.
something. Mhm.
Yeah, I was like, that's the easiest over ever. Like,
Mhm.
especially if they start hitting threes. Nope, lost some money. Tend to do that a lot, but that's okay. Let's talk some Pittsburgh Steelers football. We'll talk about who has signed. And I think the biggest name right now, because coming into today, everybody was having a panic attack about how the Pittsburgh Steelers have not signed an inside linebacker. That has changed. Cole Holcomb comes to Pittsburgh pending a physical tomorrow. Now, if he passes the physical, and I think that's a bigger question mark than people actually know, because Larry Ogunjobi was set to sign a massive deal with the Chicago Bears last year, had a foot injury in December. I think his was a little later. It was like January. It was the beginning of the playoffs that he got hurt. Holcomb got hurt, had surgery December 5th, I believe. So you have to, and it was still on the foot. So you have to imagine that is still a question mark. If he does pass, he comes to the Pittsburgh Steelers with 48 starts in his first 4 years in the NFL. He's a 5th-round pick for the Washington Commanders. He's got 388 tackles, 4.5 sacks, 15 tackles for loss, 3 interceptions, 5 forced fumbles, and 10 pass deflections. That is not a bad resume for a guy who has only played 50 games in his NFL career. Even this past year, he played 7 games. He had 69 tackles by the time he was out for the season. Is it a win? I would say I classify this move as safe. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think safe's a good way to describe it. This guy is obviously produced. We don't know financial terms yet, right? We know the length, but
No,
not how
financial
much.
terms have not been released. I would imagine that comes after the physical. But if I mean, look, just to add a reference here, he is significantly down the list on the 33rd team, which has had all the rankings for all the free agents, and the 33rd team usually knows what they're talking about. He is how many spots here below? He's pretty. So he's right below Cody Barton. He's the next name below Cody Barton on this list. Barton signed a 1-year, $3.5 million deal. He is a few above Duke Riley, 3-4 above Duke Riley, who signed a 2-year, $5 million deal. So I would imagine it's about $2.5 million a year.
That sounds great. That is like for
Yeah.
a guy who's produced this much. Obviously the foot is a concern, like you said, but I don't know that this feels like a pretty safe bet. It's a guy who can play right away. It seems like he's gonna like. I just wonder. My big question is this the only move? Because it
Yeah.
seems like this is just who they're gonna plug in and play right away at the moment. But do they reach for another linebacker in the draft? Do they reach for another one in free agency? I don't know because it's still. I think people were looking for more of a slam dunk or a home run, kind of a splashy move, and this is not that.
No, it is definitely not that.
Mhm.
And reports have come out. I mean, Ian Rappaport said with this deal, he was like, the Steelers have been heavy on the inside linebacker market. Somebody from NFL Network reported yesterday that the Steelers were in on Leighton Vander Esch. I keep saying that name wrong. Leighton Vander Esch. How are you missing on guys that are signing $5 million deals and say that you're heavy on the inside linebacker market? So maybe it is their last, at least free agency signing, because they just don't want to spend any money on the position, which is wild to me, because if you're not spending $6 million a year, why are you freaking out about it? Like, why are you even trying if you're not trying to get a guy
Right.
that's worth $5 or $6 million? I will say this, though, in the last 48 hours, they've taken, they always attend Clemson's pro day. That's like Mike Tomlin's first stop on the scouting trail every single year. Last year, they took the quarterbacks out to dinner. That was the thing. Everywhere they went, if it was a first-round possible quarterback, they took them out to dinner. Got a little look at him. This year, they took Trenton Simpson out to dinner, starting off strong, and I think he's met with them at the NFL Combine now. He met with them at the pro day. They took him out to dinner, and he said that nobody talked to him more at the pro day than Mike Tomlin and the Pittsburgh Steelers. So maybe that's their option at 32. They're looking to add Trenton Simpson or one of these other off-ball linebackers in the draft. I think that's fans are going to be very upset about that one because nobody seems to like these guys. But maybe that's a piece that they feel they could develop while they have Miles Jack, Luke, Cole Holcomb. Don't you want to say Luke Combs? Doesn't Luke Combs want to come out of your mouth? Because it wants to come out of mine. Mm-hmm. Cole Holcomb, and then Mark Robinson's entering year 2 and he played a role at the end of the season. Maybe that's their plan. I don't know. I don't think it's necessarily a good one, but I also think that inside linebacker is the most useless position on a football field defensively, outside of like nose tackle on passing downs. But like, I mean, what you could eliminate all but one inside linebacker on most downs. And as long as you have one, which I think they do have one, then maybe it's not maybe playing it safe is fine.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you might get run over, like you might get run over.
You definitely could, especially if DeMonte KZ is your only safety. You could have an issue. But I think that if you solidify the defensive line, you could work around inside linebacker. But maybe this guy is reliable. Maybe this guy comes in here and he's totally fine, and there's a reason that he was a captain in his first 4 years in the NFL, and if he didn't get hurt, maybe he's re-signing with the Washington Commanders. I don't know how good Washington's defense was last year, but I don't view Washington as a good team. So it's hard to, justify anybody that comes from there who's not named Chase Young and be like, oh, this guy's the guy right here. But Darren Payne was high on a lot of people's lists. So maybe Cole Holcomb is the move. I don't know. I think that's a big question mark that we will wait and see. We all anticipated Robert Spillane was coming back to Pittsburgh. He's off to Vegas, 2-year, $9 million deal. A lot of people called me out because in my video of Spillane signing, I said that was a good move for the Raiders and for Spillane. I think 2 years, it's a max of $9 million. I think that's a fair deal for Spillane. I think he's on the uprise maybe. Do you hate it? Do you love it? Is it a good move for Spillane? If we're being honest, I think it removes the question mark of Spillane and the Steelers' unrealistic fascination with this guy. So I think it's a good move for Pittsburgh. This is a public service announcement. Manscaped now has beard products and is going even further with their brand new Weed Whacker 2.0. Go ahead and tell the world. The leaders in below-the-waist grooming are traveling north of your South Pole with their revolutionary grooming products. The Weed Whacker 2.0 and their new beard line confirms they have all the best tools for your hygiene toolbox. Time for you to upgrade your game by going to manscaped.com and using our code STEELERS20 for 20% off plus free shipping. Gentlemen, meet the Beard Hedger Pro Kit. It is the ultimate package that makes it easier than ever to craft your signature look. It all starts with the cordless electric beard hedger. The beard hedger is tough on hair, but smooth on your face, leading to single stroke efficiency that brings satisfaction one stroke at a time. This waterproof cordless trimmer has a rotary wheel that gives you 20 hair cutting lengths, all with one guard. So, no more messy drawers full of extra add-ons. The Pro Kit comes with 4 dermatologist-tested formulations for your post-trim care. This includes Manscaped's beard shampoo and conditioner, beard oil, and beard balm to moisturize, style, and shimmer your new beard. Plus, the kit has 3 free gifts: a beard brush, a comb, and scissors. With a nice beard, your face is looking perfectly groomed. Right? Wrong. You need to keep an eye out for those tough-to-trim ear and nose hairs. The brand new Weed Whacker 2.0 offers improved blade and skin-safe technology with no tugging guaranteed. It's never been so painless to mind your manholes. Now that you have your face looking great, you must try Manscaped's Performance Package 4.0 for the full body grooming experience. Good news. The Performance Package 4.0 now comes with the Weed Whacker 2.0 and all of the other below-the-waist grooming products Manscaped is known for. Your significant other will be delighted to see you covering all the bases, if you know what I mean. So, get 20% off and free shipping with our code STEELERS20 at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com. And all you have to do is use our code STEELERS20. Always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped.
I think it's a good move for Spillane. Like, that's a very fair number for him. He definitely earned himself a lot more money at the end of last year. I feel like that's a good number for the Raiders too. That's maybe a little bit of an overpay, but not anything worth. But it's not a ridiculous overpay. I think that's pretty close to what his value is. But I do agree with you that the Steelers had kind of latched onto this guy in a way that seemed unhealthy is not the right word, but just
No,
strange.
unhealthy is a good word. Unhealthy is a good. It was unhealthy how much faith they had in a guy who continuously just didn't meet the bill, except for run blocking or run stuffing. He's great at run stuffing, but I agree with you. I think unhealthy is a good word.
Yeah, but I do think Holcomb seems like not an upgrade. If not an upgrade, then the exact same thing. Maybe a little bit more like those splash plays, like tackles for loss, things like that. Like that, Holcomb seems like he has more potential in that area. I feel like Robert Spillane he kind of was who he was, and there wasn't really much room for him to be a different player or add much to his game. But Holcomb is a little younger. Like, I don't know, he's been more productive through this point in his career than Spillane has. It seems like it was a
so
mutually.
just to toss this out there real quick. Don't mean to interrupt. So you said splash, okay? Just to toss a number out here, just toss a figure. Luke Holcomb has one touchdown in his career. It's a 31-yard interception. Robert Spillane has one touchdown in his career. It's a 33-yard interception return for a touchdown against Lamar Jackson, who at the time, I guess, was 2020. So he was winning MVP, I believe. Maybe it was the year after that he won MVP. I think it was the year after. So he was building up to MVP. One splash here. But you're 100% correct. I think it's the right move. I mean, Spillane, this guy is only 26. Spillane's 27. So they're like roughly on the same path. But Spillane has had half the production that Holcomb has had statistically the last 3 seasons. So even last year with Spillane playing 100% of the snaps the last 4 games of the season, he had 10 more tackles than Cole Holcomb, who played 7 games. So it's definitely an upgrade. It's a good move. I don't think it's a bad move. And once we get financial numbers, I think it's fine. I think there was better options, but the Steelers always have a weird plan. A lot of times it doesn't work out, but a lot of times it does work out. And maybe this is one of them. Yeah. Larry Ogunjobi, I think, is the second biggest name that comes back to Pittsburgh. 3 years, $28.75 million, $21.75 million in the first 2 years. A bit pricey, but after I looked over everything, after I kind of sat down, thought about it, he was the easiest decision to bring back. And if you're going to overpay him a little bit, I think that's okay to say, hey, look, we have a defensive end. We don't have to worry about the position for the next couple of years. And we could add depth that could replace him that maybe has more upside. And they didn't necessarily break the bank for Larry O, even if they did overpay him.
Yeah. I would agree with that. I just, I feel like the defensive line market was real like there was a big gap between like that top tier of defensive linemen that you could have gotten in the free agent market versus where Ogunjobi is, which I think is kind of in a second tier. And I guess you kind of have to pay for, like, if you're not going to pay one of those top tier guys, this is what you have to do to fill this position of need. I don't love Larry Ogunjobi. He's not far from my favorite player on this team, especially at that price tag. But you need a defensive lineman, and if you weren't going to swing for the fences on a guy like Javon Hargrave, then this is probably your best bet outside of that. Probably your most affordable, and like in terms of value, like return on investment or value return on investment. That this is probably the move they had to make.
Yeah, and you look at the market, like, in my opinion, it's still a bit of a steal. Like, Javon Hargrave went for $84 million. Daron Payne, who I didn't think was deserving of this, got a $90 million deal. Dalvin Tomlinson got $52 million. Dramont Jones got $51 million. Even guys below Ogunjobi in the rankings got David Onyemata, who signed with the Falcons, 3 years, $35 million. So I feel like even in the grand scheme of things, the market was so high that maybe that is a realistic price tag for Ogunjobi. Maybe that is where they were going to get him for the cheap, and maybe he did come back on a better deal than what he would have got somewhere else. But just like you said, like, it solidifies a position where you just don't have to work. Like, it's been years. It's like the inside linebacker room. It's been years since the Pittsburgh Steelers have been able to relax about defensive end, which is a key position for them. This past year, they didn't have to worry about it. Ogunjobi was the guy. DeMarvin Leal was his backup. I think they'll probably draft another defensive tackle guy in the middle of this draft. And you could just take a deep breath and focus on other positions, which I think is the good move, or the right move for the Steelers. I thought Larry O was the easiest re-signing. Again, a little bit pricey, but not a terrible deal. DeMonte KZ comes back on a 2-year deal. And then, I mean, we've said this before. We think that Terrell Edmunds is probably gone. That was our bold prediction coming into this. He's still sitting out there. The thing is, I think right now, is that there is very few names, very few safeties who have signed deals where, where Edmunds might sign a deal, and they've all been very cheap. Like, I don't know what the Patriots signed Jabril Peppers. I think he's the closest one to a Terrell Edmunds type signing yesterday. And I don't know what the financial numbers are, but I would imagine it's not a lot of money. So I think the safety market's it's doing exactly what we thought it was going to do. It was going to be absolutely nothing. Instead, they got KZ. Do you still sit with the notion that Edmunds is gone?
Yeah, I kind of do. I feel like the longer he sits out there, the less likely he is to come back to Pittsburgh.
Yeah,
because I think the safety market is only going to dry up with time, and I think he's going to feel the pressure to sign earlier, like sign sooner. Because the longer he sits out there, the lower his price goes. Quite honestly, like, I feel like it.
Yeah, I agree.
It does not work for him to sit out there as long as possible. So yeah, I don't know. It seems like the Steelers are content to wait him out, especially like signing KZ first. I feel like that kind of is a signal to Edmunds by the Steelers saying, "Look, man, do your thing, but we're not going to fight that hard to keep you here if you are looking for something else or looking for more somewhere else."
Yeah, I agree. And I think you could get $6 million for him, or somebody could get him for like $6 million somewhere right now. Boom, he leaves. Why would you bring him back? If you're not spending big literally anywhere outside of Larry O, I guess, which is still cheap for that position. Why would you spend big on Terrell Edmunds? I mean, maybe that could shock us today, but I think the news that's going to come now is cuts. It's this guy's gone, this guy's gone, this guy restructured. They're creating money to see where they're at, and then maybe Edmunds. But I think by then, Edmunds is probably gone and off to a new team. Then they made some splash. Okay. Cam Sutton gone to Detroit. Shout out Cam. I don't care what anybody's thoughts are on the deal, or if, Patrick Peterson was an upgrade or whatever. I'm excited for Cam. I'm happy that he got a good deal. Cam is my favorite person in the Steelers locker room. I talked to Fan Nation's Detroit Lions guy just literally the second he got signed, and I was just raving about it. I was like, look, Cam is the nicest human being you'll meet. He's a hard worker. He's going to play through injury. That's our guy right there. They replaced him with Patrick Peterson. I don't know about, I'm so excited just to meet Patrick. Like, I can't wait to walk into a locker room and be like, Patrick Peterson, nice, great to meet you. I was like 11 when you came into the league. Or no, I guess I was older than that. I was like 15 when you came into the league, and I was so excited for you to come into the league. Like, you were my idol. Yeah. Wish you didn't go to Arizona. Wanted you to come to Pittsburgh. Wasn't going to happen. It's okay. Now you're here. They signed him, and then they signed good old Nate Herbig, which we have to start the nickname He Big. Nate He Big.
I think you already have. I don't know what this we is. You have already been pushing this.
It's the easiest nickname you could come up with for this guy. He's massive. He's 6 something, it says 324 pounds, 0 chance he's under 375. There's no chance he's under 375. He played for Andy Weidel in Philadelphia, started a whole bunch of games for them over his course of time. He's an undrafted guy in 2019, plays guard. I think the real question is, do you think he competes with Kevin Dotson, or do you think he's just here to kick Kendrick Green to the side and say, hey, now we have a solidified depth piece?
No, I think he'll compete for a starting job. Look, like Kevin Dotson was not perfect. Like I know that offensive line was not as bad as people thought it was going to be, and it improved in some areas, but there's no one along that. There's very few guys, if anyone, along that offensive line that should feel absolutely safe in their starting role.
Yeah.
There's I'm sure when we get to training camp or OTAs, they'll be talking about, everyone's got to earn their job. I think that's actually true along the offensive line. I don't think that's going to be coach speak or anything. So I like this. I mean, whether it's just for depth or this is a guy that they think is going to start on or has a chance to start on opening day, I think this is a good signing and a signing that they needed.
Yeah, I'm super excited for Nate Hebig. I think that was a good move. He's young. He's 2 years younger than Kevin Dotson. They got him for 2 years. I think bare minimum, he's really good depth. Peak, he's the starting left guard of the future for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And people are hating on Mason Cole a little bit, saying that the Steelers should find a center, blah, blah, blah. I think the Steelers could build their offensive line through these free agency guys and kind of like build around it. You know what I mean? Go find another left tackle, maybe find a guard to replace Hebig in a couple of years. But I think I was so hyped about the move. I think it's a good move. I watched some tape on him yesterday. That guy is massive. And he's just a stocky guy. Like he's 6'4" or something, and he somehow looks tiny, but like huge at the same time. He's a giant meatball. That's what he is. And I think it's a great move for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Was very excited about that one. And to get him on the cheap, which I think is awesome. Patrick Peterson, do you think it's an upgrade from Cam Sutton? I think the real question is, does this, and I think we're both going to agree on this, does this solidify that they are certainly drafting a cornerback with that first pick?
Yeah, I mean, I think they are still in on a quarterback with that first pick, or a cornerback with that first pick. There's too many good ones, quite honestly. Like that's, like there are too many of those top line guys that could really be game changers, corners of the future, all franchise players, all that kind of stuff. In this draft, I don't know if Patrick Peterson is an upgrade, but like Cam had a really good year, and I think he's a really good player. I think Patrick Peterson still has it, and I think he can be a really productive, really productive guy for the Steelers.
Yeah, I mean, statistically, and you gotta count. Cam had a couple of drops last year. His interception numbers would have been bonkers, but Peterson had a better year. He had 5 interceptions and the same amount of pass breakups. Granted, they play a lot of off ball scheme where Cam is a punch you in the face kind of cornerback, and Patrick Peterson at this point in his career is more of a, I'm gonna play the system. You know what I mean? I know how to read a route better than anybody on the field, but I think that's what they're looking for. Is they bring in Joey Porter Jr. or Deonte Banks or Devin Witherspoon or whoever, and they say, you are going to learn from the greatest cornerback of our generation. This is a first ballot Hall of Famer, hands down, 3-time All-Pro, 8-time Pro Bowler, still got it. You're going to learn from him for 2 years. Then he's going to retire. I think that was awesome, is that he came out and said, I got 2 years in me and then we're done. And I think that's perfect. He also he went on an emergency podcast. I know you were driving when all this happened, but he went on his podcast and he said that he wants number 7. And then everybody's like, you're not allowed to have number 7. And he's like, oh, okay, never mind. I won't take number 7. But I hope that Trey Norwood gets a good payout for his number 21 and that they can work out a deal there. Last thing I got for you before we leave. Devin Bush is still sitting on the market. Do you think he signs anywhere before free agency opens? And if he doesn't sign, are we inching closer to a Devin Bush return?
No, I don't think so. I don't think he signs before free agency starts. I just don't know who needs Devin Bush. Who needs a Devin Bush right now?
Not the Pittsburgh
Steelers don't. Right. That's what I'm saying. Like, I just don't know what the market for Devin Bush is. I don't know who needs him. He probably like at a certain point, he has to kind of swallow his pride a little. Like he has to kind of be honest with himself, and because I think he wants not a lot, but I think he thinks of himself very highly, and that's never a bad thing. But he probably thinks of himself more highly than a lot of NFL teams do.
Yeah, he's roughly like 10 spots ahead of Holcomb on this 33rd team rankings. But just like you said, I don't think he's going to be very comfortable taking a $3 million a year type of salary. And I think somebody's going to toss him that. And I think he's just going to be like, no, man, I'm worth way more than that. You're not. He's just not. And I don't think anything he's done in the last 2 years has shown that he's worth some splash signing. It's all about potential. I think he could get a 1-year prove it deal somewhere and then try to get a bigger market next year. But I agree with you. I don't think the Pittsburgh Steelers want to touch him. Otherwise, they would have brought him back. And I don't think Devin Bush wants anything to do with the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Right.
So they're feeling good. It's just about to start. We are still hours away from the official. My phone's blowing up every 5 seconds, so I just keep looking at it. From the official start of free agency. Again, I expect the Steelers to make a lot of cuts and rework some deals today. I don't expect a lot of splash signings in the next couple of hours, but I don't think they're done. I think they're just getting started. It's an exciting time. Make sure to check out everything on allsteelers.com. And as always, find us on youtube.com and subscribe anywhere you get your podcasts. We will be back, or I will be back on Friday to break down everything that has happened throughout the week. Enjoy your week. Peace.